and he's especially knowledgeable on customer requirements where CELUM was a partner. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome the executive board member of DAM United, Mr. Oliver Häuser.
Thank you, thank you. Good afternoon. So, let's see if I can figure this out. Yeah, I'd like to invite you to our journey to Global Marketing and Distribution Hub. As well, Anna already introduced, my name is Oliver Häuser from DAM United, and we've been involved in this project since 2014. But first, I'd like to introduce the customer. So, GROHE is actually a brand of LEXIL, which is, of course, made of brands which creates products that make better homes a reality for everyone, everywhere. And GROHE, in this context, is one of the leading global brands within LEXIL for complete bathroom solutions and kitchen fittings. And you know the slogan, pure Freude am Wasser, meaning that every GROHE product is based on the brand values of quality, technology, design, and sustainability. So, let's look at the next slide with some impressive numbers, because LEXIL really makes products, okay, we had this before, improve how people live. And they offer a whole range of products from shower toilets to baths, kitchen systems, windows, doors, building exteriors, and interior furnishings. And this results in a turnover of 10.5 billion euros. So, like I said, we entered this project in 2014 as CELUM integrators. So we had a few tasks we asked to do. First of all, upgrade CELUM from the Team Edition to then the CELUM 5 DAM, right? And as we have a lot of partners here, by then we didn't have any automatic tool to migrate the data from Team Edition to CELUM 5, so we had to come up with our own way. Another thing was we wanted to use the this is actually a Reply, Storm Reply that is doing this, the AWS infrastructure to make all services scalably and globally available. And the new marketing stack actually consisted of SAP ERP, the Hybris PCM and Shop, First Spirit content management system, and the print suite. Horst was talking about all that before. And they, of course, wanted to speed up the whole data processing, how the metadata were matched to the assets through automation. That was like the main focus of this. And, of course, enable Adobe InDesign users to work with the same folder and file structure wherever they were situated. And the last thing was to supply the whole websites with images through a CDN. So let's take a look how this actually was set up. So in SAP, all asset information were stored linked to an SKU or Artikelnummer, right? All assets can be identified by this SKU. So you see the left side, we have an SAP export. We built an SAP importer for CELUM. So we analyze the data, and then we generate all the structures in CELUM and match all the metadata we get from SAP to the assets in CELUM. Once we have done that, there are some processes in CELUM, and some of the assets, as you will later see, will get cropped, or we create derivatives, and all these information are then imported to the Hybris PCM, and then the Hybris, basically governs where all these data gets used, either in the websites or at the print servers. Again, CELUM will export all the data for print and for online. And of course, we're using heavily the CELUM conversion servers for that. So, because in case of a lot of new files, for instance, we have a lot of derivatives. So if you visit one of the websites, it doesn't matter which device, you will get a scaled image. So use a mobile device, you get very small images. You have a big monitor, you get really large images, high quality. And of course, the print guys get the originals. So, but what happens if we get a new derivative? We might have to create a lot of derivatives, and then we kind of scale, of course, the CELUM conversion servers. So usually they use 2, but we used up to 4. So let's take a look at this. So this is just to give you an idea, because we get the SAP export, which consists of a lot of files, and then we analyze them and sort of translate all the cryptic numbers from the SAP tables into human-readable metadata in CELUM. So you see every asset gets all the information from SAP, and no user actually is doing any of this. So, and over the years, since we have all these information now in CELUM, we can use it. I mean, we had over the years users that wanted to have services, like, for instance, we want to download all kinds of assets for SKUs. So what they're doing, so what we did is actually build a mesh downloader in CELUM. So what you see here is a simple form where I can paste SKUs in and then choose the file types I want. Like, I want the 3D DXF, I want the animation, I want the images, I want product images, I want the literature or documents to that. And I just put in my email address, and then the packages are created later on. And at some point, I get an email with all the links in it, plus an Excel sheet with a matrix where I can see, okay, those were all the SKUs I wanted to download, and those are all the types of files that are in the zip files. So that was really an improvement, because otherwise, you had to search in CELUM everything and then put everything into your download basket, and maybe you were missing something there. So also I talked about derivatives. So that was a point where they said we want to have a really great shop or web page. And for some images, we want to have some croppings. So we said, okay, so we built a servers in CELUM so that you choose the image, and then you can choose an aspect ratio. And according to the size of the image, we already offer the user only the aspect ratios that are possible. So for that image, you can't use the format 3:4, but you can use the other ones. And once you say, this is the cropping I want, we create a new image in CELUM, link it to the original one, and then again, our export tasks, they know, oh, there's an original, and then there are certain derivatives, user created, and of course, we export them to the CDN, and then the web pages can pick them up again. So those are just 2 examples we did over the years. And if you count it, we've been in this project for 7 years now. So, so what did we do in 7 years with CELUM and, of course, with the other services? So, of course, we updated CELUM a couple of times. Newer and larger derivatives were added to the export pool. And more services were created using this marketing hub with all the information. And if you work with SAP, the structure they use is not really user-friendly. On the left side, you see, for instance, our SAP structure for the files. But GROHE wanted to have a more human-readable portal structure. So what we did is we have a task running that is linking all the current images from the SAP structure to a portal structure, where you can see, okay, I want to have the animations, and then I see all current animations in that folder and can download them or use them, right? So when we started the project, we had about 250,000 files we imported. We are now up to 500,000. And with the versions, we have close to 4 million in the system. And as you can imagine, the CELUM DAM is now used globally around the clock. Sure. So what brings the future? So we are working on some improvements. I mean, these are ongoing projects and things we are already working on. One of the things was they wanted to upload files from anywhere. Right now, we have very automatic import processes, but there's also the requirement that actually users can upload images or assets. And we use our asset uploader for that, because then we can really streamline what people are allowed to upload. Plus, they can choose. All assets have to be linked to an SKU, for instance. And this is what we offer, right? So they can choose between all the SKUs, which was quite nice. Andreas was coming up with a really cool idea how we can actually have all the SKUs in a form, because GROHE, I don't know, has like, I don't know, thousands, tens of thousands of SKUs. So that was one thing we're working on, and it's already in testing, and they like it because it's very simple. Then another thing is, over the years, more and more services like sales apps were programmed towards the system using the CELUM API, maybe drawing information from Hybris, PCM. And this is another interesting project we are working on, actually building a company API, a universal API, that is drawing information from CELUM and from Hybris, providing you with one single API point where you can access all the information. Thus, getting new development people on board very quickly, and they just work with one API instead of having to think, well, where do I get this information? And if I have this information, how do I get the next information, right? So one other big thing is, as I said, we export right now a lot of images. And it's a process that works really well, but one can always improve something. So for that, we are using our new image service, the Delivery, creating dynamic. Well, what it does is, instead of exporting them, it goes through our service and it delivers the images in all kinds of sizes, cropped, maybe dynamically, maybe adding some information to them. And we can also, what's the word for it? Ensure that the life cycle of the assets is true, because right now, if we block an image in CELUM, until the CDN knows this image is blocked, some time will pass, because the next export, and maybe the image was shared or whatever. But if we just share the URL we create with our service, it will invalidate it once the image is locked in CELUM, right? Again, we will use the same service for creating dynamic images with multilingual information on the fly. So think about spare part numbers and names need to be attached to a certain image. So And the goals for that, of course, why are we doing all this? Why do we want to improve it constantly is we want to have a faster and more resilient delivery of data to the market, which is always important. I mean, we heard this morning a couple of times, right? We want to save costs by providing dynamic data, so we only store the master data and we don't store thousands, millions of renditions actually. We may need, but we don't really know if they're needed. Then, of course, better use of the AWS architecture. When we started out, we used a couple of large machines, and now it's spread over more smaller machines. And now when we add new services, it runs separate from the CELUM server. And of course, provide the product and asset information over a universal API to simplify just the development, save additional tools and services, and of course saving costs and lots of nerves, for the developer. And this actually concludes my presentation. So if you have any questions, I'm sorry, I took away your job. Usually it's your...
Quite all right. Quite all right. I mean, it's good to end a presentation with the audience's attention and ask them now for their questions, because that's why we're here today. So we have the fourth row over here, the gentleman. Can we get a microphone to him, please? Can you raise your hand again, sir? Because Birgit's coming around with the microphone. That way our Zoom users can also hear your question.
Well, I guess you have years of experience of implementing DAM projects to different kind of companies. And I know there's many challenges companies need to be prepared for. In your opinion, with all your experience, what would be the biggest challenge companies need to be prepared when implementing a DAM system?
Well, I usually tell the story where I said 20 years ago, or when we started out, it was just a media database, right? So people were just thinking about, okay, so we buy a software that just stores images. That's it. I mean, it's not a big thing. I mean, you're done in 2 or 3 days. Now we actually have to prepare our customers and tell them, you do realize, you're not just buying a DAM system. I mean, it's just one small puzzle in a bigger picture. And this is sometimes they underestimate, and they look at us like, why do you want to talk to, I don't know, several departments and to the IT, to the marketing, and so on and so on. So I think this is probably not one of the biggest challenge, but it's always a challenge, first to tell the customers, so for instance, what will happen now? We start the project, and what will, all the involvement and all the work you have to put in, right? So that's one thing, and yeah.
Great question. Do we have any questions from our chat or from the audience? I mean, you also have like a lot of customers, different types that you work with, and when they finally do the work and implement a DAM system, they probably experience some sort of relief. And what were some of the most common comments you hear from them?
Yes, well, there's a relief once everything goes live, because then we know we did a good job and the customer is happy. I think the best comments we get, we did an implementation for our sports photographers, and they called us and they're like, "What did you do?" And we're like, "What do you mean?" "Yeah, we have all these calls now from our customers." I'm like, "What? Why?" And they said, "The images are too fast, The people, usually they looked at the images and then they had some time, and now it's like, boom, there's the image. And then the next one, and the next one. Another one was when we, at Gimborn, that was a talk I did last year, I think, we implemented the asset uploader for the salespeople, right? So well, Gimborn is doing cat and dog food, and they have salespeople who actually enter the stores, and they make pictures how their products are placed in the store. And that was a huge thing because, you know, they made the picture with their handy and with their mobile, and then they went home and they had to transfer the image from their mobile to their computer, send it via mail to some guy, and maybe at some point it was uploaded into the DAM. So the process was really not good. So we came up with the idea about the asset uploader. I said, well, mobile device, there's a link, some metadata, press a button, and the image will be uploaded to the folder you configured. So for us, it was like, okay, technically, really easy. Once the project was, you know, then it was going live, it's running, and then the Carla called me and said, Oliver, our marketing, our sales manager is dancing on the table. You know, he's so excited. This is so great. And the fun thing is, what you really like with our customers, you know, we provide them with solutions, and we think about one thing, like the salespeople running around. So what did they do? They started a campaign with influencer, right? So they invited all their customers to make pictures of their animals with the products and used our solution to upload the images so they can use them. So, of course, they asked us like, yeah, we have a small problem, you know, the storage. And we're like, storage, what? Yeah, with all the uploads. We're like, what uploads? Yeah, the influencer. What influencer? It's like, okay.
Wow, okay,
Right.
it sounds like a very good real-life case. And I mean, if it was a company dealing with, let's say, sensitive data, with sensitive information on their assets, I mean, uploading it to a system is definitely more secure than sending it by email to somebody else who, I mean, so it has multitude of advantages.
Yeah, actually, with that customer, they limited, or the entry point in their DAM is now the asset uploader. They don't accept anything else anymore. They said, all files via email, we don't accept. So.
All right. Well, I'll open the floor again for questions. Does anyone have one more question? Now is your chance. There in the back. The gentleman, can we get a microphone to him, please? Wunderbar.
So my question for you is, now that GDPR, it's this big thing, how this impacts your workflows and your customers' workflows?
Mm-hmm. That's a really good question, because we were, remind me, Andreas, when did we create our GDPR tool?
2019?
Yeah, so we were really early on to that and try to educate our customers, like, well, you can't just take pictures of people and use them in your system, you know, you have to have a way of getting their consent and, of course, revoke, you know, they need to be able to revoke that consent. So it's tricky. I mean, we try to educate our customers. For us, like storing the data, everything we do is in Germany. So we don't really have any problems. Everything, our own, well, not our own servers, but our partners we work with, everything is stored in Germany. So we don't really have any problems with that. But among that, you know, I talk to my customers and tell them about all these issues. I mean, it's like, oh yeah, we have to see, maybe. So it's definitely some more. Well, we need to educate them more about the. Well, what can happen if, right? In my opinion, it's like everyone is like, oh, we have Corona, we have to work. You know, everyone is in the home office. We need to use all those tools, which are all really questionable if you can actually use them. But you know, there's a German saying, no? Wo kein Richter, oder wie heißt das? Wo kein Richter, da keine Klage. Ne? Also, so.
But great question, all right.
No?
Last chance, otherwise I'll close the floor now. Let's give him a round of applause.